New year, Matthew. A new year, new chairs, and the who would win of the week. Oh, I'm gonna take your water down in case it's blocking me.
Get a sip. Let me get a swig.
The who would win of the week tournament of champions 2022. All the who would wins from this past year. The winners of every match, every week through the past year. It's the same bracket as last year, which probably has some problems. You'd think you'd think over like the year I would have come up, addressed it, but I didn't. So this is where we're gonna start, and we got to go right into it.
Yeah.
I do have some rejected ones to read before we do like the final matchup.
All right.
So we can do the same as like last year.
About that.
But we'll go again the same way we've done it. We'll go this side.
On, but I don't know if my mic is on. Is
okay.
it? Oh, no. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We got it.
I'm here.
Okay. So we'll go on this side, and then we'll go over there. Work our way around, and we'll see what happens.
All right. We'll go down and then up.
Some of these I'm super excited about. This first matchup I love. It's Mushu versus Paul Blart, Mall Cop. What do you think? Because last week was Mushu, and you were very pro Mushu.
Yeah, but I mean, Paul Blart is built different. I'm gonna go Paul Blart here.
100%.
Yeah,
I think Paul Blart, he doesn't give up.
No,
he's
a resilient bastard.
He seems like kind of a bumbling guy, but at the end of the day, I mean, the dude gets that. Despite having hypoglycemia, despite everyone doubting him, Paul Blart stands strong.
No, I like Paul Blart here. Yeah, definitely.
I'm glad. Fuck Mushu.
Not fuck Mushu.
No, fuck Mushu. I was mad that he won. Okay, next one is Antonio Brown, football star, versus Dale and Brennan, the brothers from Step Brothers.
Football star is a funny way to describe Antonio Brown.
Is he not a football star?
Well, now
he's
more of
football star.
Former, yeah. Now he's more famous for jerking off in public pools and stuff like that, and beating people and getting arrested all the time. Actually, I don't think he ever gets arrested. He just does crazy shit.
Yeah.
But I'm still going Antonio Brown. There's no chance in France that Dale and Brennan single-handedly are taking down Antonio Brown.
That's a fight I would love to see.
It would be awesome. It's definitely a fight of crazy people.
Just two afroed idiots running at this freak athlete, you know what I mean? Just getting stiff-armed all the way. Because that's the thing that would happen is Antonio Brown would stiff-arm one, and then they would just get right back up, and the same thing would happen.
I think he would just start jerking off on him.
I don't know if that seems like their move to him. So maybe this fight just deteriorates to all three of them jerking off onto each other.
Antonio Brown wins it then.
And still Antonio Brown, I think, does win.
Yeah, I'm taking Antonio Brown on that one.
Be it fight or jerk-off competition.
Antonio
Brown will take the cake. Okay, next one. Okay,
Seth.
This man, what a great matchup. Seth from Superbad, Jonah Hill's character, versus Slobby Robbie. This is a good fight, and this is honestly a tough one.
Regardless of what I said in the Slobby Robbie episode, I hate Slobby Robbie. I just hate him. And I'm taking Seth just all the way here. Slobby Robbie is the worst. I can't believe he won that fight. I know I didn't take Slobby Robbie in that fight.
Who did he go? Oh, he went against Chumley.
Talking about him getting his ass beat. That's a shitty pick by the listeners. You guys are idiots. I'm taking Seth.
I think that they're the same though, and that they're both like every point that you made about Slobby Robbie, I think could be said about Seth as well. And the difference
I just don't believe
Slobby Robbie is iced up, and I think. You make a good argument for Seth, but I think Slobby Robbie in this one.
I don't give a shit about Slobby Robbie. I just don't like Slobby Robbie. I don't even... Seth from Superbad.
Trying to think.
Yeah, I don't even remember...
Okay, again, speaking to the differences, because Slobby Robbie would turn over to the cops immediately if he ever got in trouble. Seth does get up and run after Evan does, but only after Evan leads.
No, but I think that Seth from Superbad, thinking of Jonah Hill's character in that movie, is committed way more to the act of being cool, whereas Slobby Robbie thinks he's cool, but he's really not.
Right.
So Seth's willing to prove himself. Slobby Robbie's like, nah, bruh.
I'm going Slobby. All right, this one I also love.
So we're going Seth. Moving on.
Going Seth. Moving on. Stewie Griffin versus the Lorax. I love this fight. It's Stewie Griffin all the way.
Yeah, it's definitely Stewie Griffin.
I mean, if there's, dude, that kid would torch a rainforest like that. Like he's got no morals. He's got all the
trees would be happy to not have tongues if they had to face Stewie Griffin.
If the trees had tongues, they would only be screaming with Stewie Griffin around. As much as I love the Lorax.
No, we're definitely taking Stewie there. Did that say Esteban versus a Hot Pocket?
Yeah, Esteban versus Hot Pocket.
I think Esteban would have a tough time versus a Hot Pocket.
I kind of do as well. Because shout out to him, but
yeah, because sometimes when you're trying to put the Hot Pocket into the magic microwave thing, that you slip it in.
Yeah,
it can be difficult, and I think that could really put Esteban in a very, very difficult position.
I think so too.
And then I think if he were to get it in there, the second he took it out of the microwave, he would assume that it was ready to eat, and he would instantly turn his entire insides into steaming hot lava.
It's just
I'm taking a Hot Pocket.
It's just the world that Esteban lives in, that slapsticky world. A Hot Pocket is going to destroy him by burning him. It's going to blind him. There's so much bad stuff that could happen if Esteban gets his hands on Hot Pockets.
Yeah, I'm going Hot Pocket here.
As weird it is, as much as it breaks my heart. Friend of the show, the actor who plays Esteban.
This one I love. Scientology versus Gordon Bombay.
Okay, who are you
Gordon
taking
Bombay,
for this?
easily.
No,
yes.
no. I think Scientology.
You ever seen a distraction in a fire in a barrel? Gordon Bombay might be at the beginning of the fight enticed by Scientology, but eventually he would realize, no. This is not who I am. This is not how we win hockey games. We are the Mighty Ducks. We play as a team. I'm not falling for this malarkey.
But
he doesn't fall for malarkey.
But he doesn't have the kids it's the kids in that movie that show him what it can be.
That is not how a distraction
it's just
in the
him
fire
alone.
barrel starts.
I don't is that a reference to the movie?
Yes,
I don't understand
Andy.
that at all.
When he gets too caught up in the
just tell me what happens.
When he gets too caught up in the allure of being a celebrity.
Yeah.
When he's coaching for Team USA and he's hanging out with Kareem and and all these tennis stars, and he's at these mansions, and he gets too caught up in the allure, and it starts to take away from his ability to see what's going on with his team, and he's got to eventually burn his own cardboard cutout and say this is a distraction in a fire in a barrel. And then they become a team again. And that's what he would do with Scientology.
Sure, but what drives him to do that? Is it him looking around, or is it him looking at the
it's him looking
ducks?
around. No, it's him looking around. It's not just the ducks in that case.
Okay. And it's not just Hans being like...
Well, Hans is dead.
Oh, he dies in the second one?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I didn't realize that.
I think.
I think Hans is alive in the second one.
No, I think he dies in the second one. But either way... no, I mean it's like a loss to Iceland. Like it's not like the Ducks saying, Gordon, you need to. Sure. It's not just that. There's more to it because he starts to say no to the guy.
Okay, as long as you can promise me it's more of his own volition than
it's everything. It's not. It's a lot of the outside world, but it's not just the Ducks. But it's what he sees in the world, not somebody saying to him, "This isn't working." Right. So again, that he might at first be enticed, but once he saw what was going on, once his perspective set in, and the shiny new toys wore off, he would be like, "Oh no, this shit be crazy," and he would rip that shit down from the inside.
But by then, they've already got him. They've already got his Staten levels locked in, and he's toast.
No, you're underestimating Gordon Bombay.
I think you're underestimating Scientology.
No.
I think Scientology's got to take this one. Look at it. They've got everybody. They're the most powerful organization in the world, quite possibly.
No way. They're the most powerful organization in the world.
I think they're more powerful than the Flying V.
But we're not talking about the team. Now
Right.
you're trying to talk about the team. I mean, I guess it's ultimately up to you. You're the one moving the sticker, but I think Scientology's a pander pick. I think you want to see Scientology make a run against Hot Pockets.
No. I think I really pegged Gordon Bombay as a guy who would fall for it. But if you can promise me,
I don't think he's falling for it.
That he's taking that
he's
he
too
changes,
mentally strong.
Okay. I'm trusting you on that one. Next one, Shredder versus Taylor Swift. Shredder from Ninja Turtles. It's Shredder.
Okay, yeah.
If you say Taylor Swift, you're a moron.
But I could be convinced Shredder.
It's Shredder. He's a fucking metal ninja. He's a metal ninja.
Taylor Swift is tough.
Taylor Swift is a blonde, skinny,
but she's tough
broomstick lady. Jawa versus Weird Al.
Who the hell is Jawa?
The Jawas from Star Wars.
Oh, the Jawas.
Jawas all the way. All the way. I think Weird Al would like love the Jawas.
And then they'd eat him in
his
sleep.
And then absolutely. Mm-hmm. They'd eat him up.
They'd like pamper him, you know what I mean? Like, and he'd
think
like, they think he's our god.
Kind of like
the Jack Sparrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Same thing. Okay.
Same situation.
I was gonna. Okay.
Sorry, Weird Al.
Stay Puft Marshmallow Man versus Salt Bay. Fuck Salt Bay in every hole available.
Stay Puft Marshmallow
Man. Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Great. I'm glad to see him moving on in this tournament. Mini-Me versus Ash Ketchum. It definitely is Mini-Me. It's got to be Mini-Me.
I'm glad you did.
But I do want to talk like Ash is obviously used to like cuz Mini-Me, he's not a person, like he's a little clone.
If
he can't
Ash
even
Ketchum
speak.
could use Pokeballs, it's probably him because he would capture. He would think Mini-Me was a Pokemon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But Mini-Me is a Pokemon, pretty much.
But no Pokeballs, Mini-Me's.
Yeah, Mini-Me definitely, beats
Ash
up
Ketchum's never been punched in the dick that hard.
Just add it to the list of 10-year-old kids that Mini-Me has beat the shit out of, I assume. Okay, what's next?
Chuck E. Cheese
versus Hagrid. Could Hagrid bring himself to destroy a creature?
If the creature was trying to kill him.
His love for creatures
I know.
is similar to the Steve Irwin way.
No,
where Steve Irwin let that stingray kill him.
That never
Hagrid
happened.
may let Chuck E. Cheese gnaw him to
Hagrid
bits.
would win that fight. I guarantee you.
But
he would cry about it. He would cry about it.
Okay, so now I'm just picturing Hagrid crying as Chuck E. Cheese's blood splats all over his face.
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Oh, that's brutal. Hagrid continues.
This
to
one's
move on.
not even a
Reese's Cup versus Halloween Oreo. Halloween Oreo,
obviously.
Oh yeah,
I mean Reese's Cups are a top tier
candy,
year-round candy, but the Halloween Oreo, there's a reason that you could only find it in select months. It's because it's too powerful.
It's the specialty food of specialty foods, and that's the real difference in that fight.
Yes.
Okay, Flat Stanley versus Beetlejuice.
Ooh,
I really like this fight, and I love Flat Stanley so goddamn much, but he's a kid. And also, he's kind of a pussy. Like, not that he's a pussy, but the world that he lives in it's a scholastic world, right? Like, it's so mundane. I think Beetlejuice would scare the shit out of him on top of Beetlejuice's magical abilities.
Well, the thing I think about Flat Stanley is Flat Stanley couldn't get away from Beetlejuice because Beetlejuice can shapeshift as well.
Sure, yeah.
So, like, Flat Stanley, if scared, would probably just slide under a locked door, but Beetlejuice could contort himself also under that locked door.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's tough for some things to beat Flat Stanley, but ultimately he is made of paper,
right?
So you could just rip.
There's
him
a
in
lot
half,
of other people
which
on.
Beetlejuice could do.
There's a lot of other people on this board that Flat Stanley could take down.
Yeah.
But Beetlejuice is unfortunately not one of them.
them.
Folks, it's the start of a new year, and with all those resolutions you've got coming around, you're going to be very busy making yourself into the person that you always wanted to be. So why bog yourself down with little inconveniences like going to the grocery store, okay? That place is terrible. The parking lot's an absolute mess. You get inside there, and it's just a maze of products. You don't know where anything is. People are bumping into each other with their carts. It's a nightmare. The good news is you can avoid all of that when you use Instacart, because with Instacart, you can get not just groceries, but some of your favorite products from some of your favorite local stores delivered right to your front door in as little as 1 hour. And the best part is, right now, 2 in the Cooler listeners get free delivery on their first order of $10 or more. All you have to do is spend $10, and Instacart will deliver whatever you're looking for right to your front door. No delivery fee. Start making things easier on yourself and use Instacart today. All you have to do to get that free delivery deal is hit the link in this episode description. If you want to do something nice for yourself for the new year as well, you can check out all the sick merch we've got over at snackspot.se/creator/teespring.com. We've got merch not just for Two in the Cooler, but also for Schemin' and Dreamin' and for Quested, the 2 other podcasts that we produce right here. Hoodies, t-shirts that are so soft, long sleeves. We've also got a lot of really sick accessories like coffee mugs, pint glasses that are awesome, slides, bucket hats, fanny packs, whatever it is you're looking for. Do something, nice for yourself, and it's a great way to support the show. Again, that's all over at snackspot.se/creator/teespring.com. You can hit the link that's in this episode description, take you right over there, or check out the link in our Instagram bio. Again, that's snackspot.se/creator/teespring.com. And if you are interested in advertising on this show or our twin show, Schemin' and Dreamin', or Quested, the Dungeons & Dragons podcast that we produce right here, you can email us at snackspotsports@gmail.com for details on how you can reach tens of thousands of listeners in the Buffalo area and beyond. That's right, tens of thousands. Thank you very much, folks. It's very cool that those numbers are going through the roof. And that's to be said for podcasts across the board. That's why it's becoming such a big place for advertisers to go to. McDonald's advertises on podcasts, State Farm, Tropicana, Walmart, these massive companies. These are companies that have huge advertising budgets that advertise on the Super Bowl, and they're moving into podcasting because of how effective it is. And that it's cool to see companies of that size moving away from traditional media like TV and stuff, because nobody even watches cable anymore, and podcast advertising is so effective because of the host read ad thing and all this different stuff. It's fun to see that, but there's no spot yet for smaller local businesses to get in on the action, but that's why we're here. So again, if you're interested in learning about all the benefits to podcast advertising, you can reach out to us at snackspotsports@gmail.com. Okay, so now
Beetlejuice would come to here.
So Beetlejuice would be here?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the winner of this fight would fight Beetlejuice. Or they'll fight. He gets a bye. The winner of that has to fight Beetlejuice. That's why this is a little wrong.
Okay, got it.
But it's too
I'm bad at brackets, and I'm bad at most things.
Should we start from the top?
Wherever you want to start from, we can go.
Nah, let's start from the bottom. An Oreo Blizzard versus a Green Machine.
The Green Machine's too powerful, man.
Yeah.
It's the most effective way to get around.
Yeah,
it's one of the most powerful vehicles known to man.
Blizzards, as we know, are resilient
big
objects.
Big time.
But I do agree a Green Machine would flatten it. Sorry to the
that's the thing. It would flatten it.
Green Machine moves on.
I know what's going to happen in the next fight for the Green Machine, but I'm still very excited for it.
Dr. Doofenshmirtz versus Pablo Escobar.
Two evil
Titans
geniuses.
of industry.
Titans of the
Titans
evil
of
industry. Two evil geniuses.
However, I'm going to have to take Pablo Escobar in this one.
because he actually kills people?
Well, Doofenshmirtz would come up with a really good idea to stop him, but instead of shrinking Pablo Escobar, it would accidentally make him larger.
Right. And then he'd be unstoppable.
Pablo Escobar would just murder him.
I also think Pablo Escobar, on top of being the gangster that he is, could manipulate Doofenshmirtz.
Yes.
In a pretty easy way. And Doofenshmirtz, and Perry the Platypus is a great opponent, but he's still a platypus,
yes.
and Doofenshmirtz can't beat him.
A Capri Sun versus Steve Harrington is our next fight. Now,
this is complicated.
I'm going to take Steve, but I think a Capri Sun ultimately puts up a better fight than it should.
I was thinking the same thing.
Because Steve would probably, how sometimes with a Capri Sun you can't get the straw,
yes,
and then you try too hard, and then you accidentally stab it through the back.
Exactly what I was going to say.
But the problem is, ultimately, Steve would end up stabbing it through the back, too. He wouldn't be able to drink it, but it would be dead.
Here's the thing. At the end of the day, Steve Harrington would win the battle, but the emotional scars would carry with him forever of the frustration that the Capri Sun would cause him. Steve Harrington is the prime target for a Capri Sun, especially being from the 80s.
I agree.
I think the Capri Sun has everything working for it in this fight, but obviously...
Was it a Capri Sun versus a Huggy?
Dude, no, it was versus a high C juice box.
Love Huggies. Yeah, we'll take Steve Harrington in this one. Sorry. Sometimes you're a little on there.
Yeah,
these things are tough to get off, man.
Okay. Next up, Jerry Seinfeld versus Gritty, the Flyers mascot. What do you think? Because I don't think that
comically, is that the right word?
I don't know.
Comedically?
Sure, either one I think is appropriate.
Jerry Seinfeld would dominate Gritty.
Yeah, I mean, Gritty, I don't...
But Gritty ultimately would just fuck Jerry Seinfeld up.
I don't think that Jerry would be afraid of Gritty, which I think is a big.
Gritty,
well,
though.
okay, I'm just talking this out, dude. I don't think Jerry would be afraid of Gritty.
You got contentious there.
A little bit because but Gritty being a creature of essentially unknown and therefore potentially limitless strength, I think that's what puts Gritty over, because Jerry Seinfeld, obviously he's like a little different than the average person, but Gritty is an unfeeling monster who can kill anyone and anything.
Yeah, I mean, Gritty would just be and Jerry Seinfeld's not a big guy.
Right.
He would just be hip slamming him all around.
That's right. I forgot about the signature hip slam. I forgot that was like his
He's
move.
got hips and he'll sit on people. Like
yeah. Were you going to say he's got hips that don't lie?
Yeah.
Well, he does. He does. That's true. With Shakira's hips.
So
it seems
Gritty
like they've been lying.
Is moving on.
Gritty's moving on.
Next fight, also a good one. Darth Vader versus Ed from Good Burger.
This is a mercy killing.
Yeah. Like, Ed from Good Burger.
I love him so much.
He's such a good guy. He would try to do the right thing.
Okay.
But he would ultimately
let's think about this
choked.
in the context of Star Wars world, of Darth Vader's world. I have to imagine that Ed's metachlorian count is off the charts. I have to imagine that Ed is so imbued with the light side of the Force that he's essentially a being of pure light. And
Darth Vader would smoke his ass.
And that's the thing, is because Ed, while being so imbued with the power of the light side of the Force, untrained, obviously we know Ed, he's kind of a simple guy.
And Darth Vader would see Ed as such a threat, because if Ed were to become powerful, so Darth Vader would go straight for the throat.
My God,
he wouldn't tease him at
destroy
all.
him.
He would just murder him.
I like this next fight too a lot.
This
is a fun one.
Miss Piggy versus Captain Crunch.
Miss Piggy beat the shit out of him. She knows karate. He's a near retired military man.
Yeah.
He's like 100 years old. He's
Crunch
just a captain.
Captain Crunch wouldn't go down without a fight, but every time he got back to his knees, Miss Piggy would throw another punch.
Yeah, she just
So Miss Piggy
would wreck him.
Whoa. Miss Piggy's going to win this fight. Put Miss Piggy right there. Bang, bang,
okay.
bang,
I like this one too. Oh my God.
Little Caesar versus Action Bronson.
Yeah.
Pizza might be able to pull a fast one on Action Bronson.
I don't know, dude. Especially Action Bronson now, he's in such good shape, and he obviously is very familiar with the workings of Little Caesars. I think it's safe to say, based on his past physique and like touring.
Pizza is tricky.
It's very tricky, very quick. That was one of the big things during his fight this year.
It is Little Caesar.
It's Little Caesar, but I think Action Bronson would I do think he would be able to catch him
in his current
in
his current state. I'll give it to you. In his former life, Little Caesar would have won.
I think he'd just bear hug Little Caesar
Little
to
Caesar's
death, just destroy him.
This is
what a battle!
Fight.
What a battle!
This is a marquee matchup. This is a classic 8-9. I mean, don't know who's going to win this fight.
One that could have happened.
You turn the TV on for
this. It's possible.
Yeah,
it's possible that this fight actually went down.
But here's the thing. It's highly likely that they would fight. But if they did, it's highly likely that Dennis Rodman would kick the fuck out of Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
That's the fight.
I'm going to see if I can find a picture. I'm going to see if I can find a
picture
of
them together. They probably party. But Dennis Rodman would fuck Michael Jackson up, Andy.
Why do you say that? Just because of his giant size?
Yeah, because he is a monster who literally abused NBA players for years physically, and Michael Jackson, who's got great footwork, we know that, but ultimately, I don't think getting punched in the face repeatedly is Michael Jackson's forte.
Well, he's had a lot of work done to his face.
Yeah, which would maybe make him not feel it as much. And
right.
He doesn't maybe have his
Michael Jackson may not, and because of all the fentanyl that he's on, Michael Jackson may not be able to feel pain.
Yeah, but
on top of that, with his crazy dance skills.
I know, but Dennis Rodman also has good footwork. He's an NBA player, and
this is kind of like Batman versus the Joker.
Yeah, when Batman ultimately wins like the fight. So
exactly.
I agree. This is a great Batman versus the Joker scenario. But can we move Dennis Rodman on?
Yeah, it's Dennis Rodman. It is Dennis Rodman.
I love this.
Oh my God,
fight.
that would have been a great fight.
I love everything about this next fight.
This fight
Another
would
marquee
be
matchup.
So fun. Kelso from That 70s Show versus Bill Nye the Science Guy. Dude, this Man, Kelso would
Kelso
love
loved
Bill Nye.
because Bill Nye makes science fun.
Exactly, he would love Bill Nye.
But ultimately, if Bill Nye needed to beat Kelso, he could put his mind in a pretzel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Kelso would, he'd be done before he even knew it.
Yeah,
Really?
He'd be frantic.
He'd be done before he even knew
But I
it.
do agree that if you got these two in a room and Bill Nye didn't need to physically kill Kelso to advance, they would. Kelso would love
so
Bill.
much
He'd be
fun.
talking about Bill Nye for at least 3 minutes.
It'd be
and then he'd
so.
forget that
My
he
God, it'd be
existed.
so great.
And that's Kelso's other problem. I don't remember who he fought, but I can't.
I think it was Taco from the league.
Great fight. This is another. I mean, this side of the bracket is marquee matchup after marquee matchup.
This is kind of tough.
Kim Possible versus Judge Judy.
Yeah, I don't know because Kim Possible, while she's very acrobatic, she's obviously pretty good hand to hand. Judge Judy is Kim should take it back. While Kim Possible being, like I said, a true athlete and, great kind of spy, she is a teenager, and Judge Judy is a pretty intense maternal adult figure. And when Judge Judy starts ripping into Kim Possible verbally, which is something that Judge Judy does better than anybody, I think it's going to be tough for teenage Kim Possible to hold back the waterworks enough to actually fight back.
Yeah, Kim Possible, I agree with you. Being a teenager would have a tough time against Judge Judy. I also think that Kim Possible's probably pretty stubborn. Because she thinks, like, I can handle this.
Right.
Whereas Judge Judy's stubborn because she knows she can handle that. And I think that Kim would get very frustrated at the, like, resilient attitude of Judge Judy, which would put her in a vulnerable position.
And it does look like, not for nothing, it does look like Judge Judy could take a punch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She can take her lickings. Are you okay with Judge Judy?
Oh, yeah. I like Judge Judy.
All right. I'll take Judge Judy. I was on the fence. I mean, Kim Possible is a good. This was a tough first round matchup for her. I think she could have probably made a run had she not lost so early. Matilda versus Scooby-Doo Fruit Snacks.
Now, it's got to be Matilda because
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo Fruit Snacks, they get eaten by children. Matilda's a child.
And is she a magic
they didn't
child?
stand a chance. Yeah, she's a magic.
Yeah,
she's
that's what I thought.
telekinetic.
Yep. Yeah. We discussed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Poor. I mean, again, Scooby-Doo Fruit Snacks. A lot of people like if Scooby-Doo Fruit Snacks had to go up against Kelso, they advance.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they had Matilda in the first round.
Yep. The exact opposite of Kelso, some would say.
Moving on, we have Flubber versus Steve-O.
Okay, I'm going to take Flubber because Steve-O, I think his move
would be to do it as a drug.
I think it would look like Steve-O wins. I think he would eat Flubber.
Yeah.
But then Flubber
would fuck him up from the inside.
Exactly. He'd bounce all of his insides
Steve-O's
out.
insides are more resilient than most.
That's true.
But Flubber
Flubber
eventually would
could Steve-O handle
down.
Flubber?
No, I don't think so. And Steve-O could handle a lot.
I know he can handle most things.
So is Flubber moving on?
I think so. If it's a sober Steve-O, it's Flubber.
It's Steve-O in his current state, I believe. Uh-oh. So
God, what a battle.
This next one is a very interesting fight. Question.
Yeah.
Does he have the Iron Man suit?
Oh, fuck. I feel like this was a problem when we actually did it.
At the very least, he has his Jarvis glasses on, though, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, he might even have like a little hand shebang.
I think it's Tony Stark here. Popeye's
I do
only
too.
play is a can of spinach, and yeah, he gets strong, but Tony Stark deals with a lot worse than strong without his Iron Man suit. And if he has the glasses on to kind of dissect where Popeye's strength is coming from, I think no Iron Man suit, he can still defeat Popeye.
100%. Popeye's only opposition is just like a big brutish dock work or something, and even then he gets bested sometimes, like to try and keep.
He's easily outsmartable.
Yeah.
All right, so Tony Stark is moving on.
Nice.
And we are through the first round, folks.
Okay.
So I think what we should do
is these bottom ones
start here.
Okay.
And then go right into there.
Right.
And then go up from there.
Okay, so whoever wins Luke Skywalker versus Green Machine will fight Beetlejuice?
No. we do this, and then we leave that, and then we go up to Hagrid and the Halloween Oreo.
Oh, got it.
Because then
there
will have to be another fight there
right.
before we
Okay, cool.
there.
So Luke Skywalker was last year's tournament winner, which is why he got that first round bye and is back in the game. It's been a problem with Jedis. You know, we talked about it even at the end of last tournament. Matthew was like, who's going to be able to beat Luke Skywalker? It's going to be Jedis, you know, all the way around. And obviously Darth Vader we've also seen is already on this board. So we don't know.
But Darth Vader can lose.
Yeah.
He's mentally weaker, I believe. But Luke Skywalker beats a green machine.
Yeah,
10 out of 10 times.
I know, but God damn, I hope that green machine fights till its last
it
breath.
will. I mean, you trust me, those things, they don't die.
No.
If you found an original green machine in a junk pile right now in a dump somewhere and pulled it out and put a little air in that front tire, it would rip.
The green machine is I like it as a matchup for Luke Skywalker for like the first matchup for like last year's champion. But
yeah.
We know obviously there was no way Luke Skywalker wasn't going to make it past at least his first fight.
Yeah.
And we're going to see what happens as it goes on. Hagrid versus Halloween Oreos. Hagrid, that guy's got to love his sweets.
Oh, he's crushing
the Halloween Oreos.
Hagrid can advance.
Especially, you know, they're like
they're right up his
Wizard
alley.
Oreos.
They're regular Oreos. Those are just Oreos
Those
for
are
Hagrid.
just regular Oreos. Stay Puft Marshmallow Man versus Mini-Me.
Stay Puft just based on
size. It is Stay Puft. Yeah, because I don't know if Mini-Me could, like...
Mini-Me would be afraid, and then he would get stomped out.
No, okay, because here was my thinking was, like, what's Mini-Me's appetite like? He almost goes rabid for chocolate, so he loves sweets. If he crawls his way through the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, which you can't put past Mini-Me, I think Mini-Me might end up on top on this one.
Yeah, at first I was thinking he would be afraid and then he would get stomped out, but I think you're right. And the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is probably not very coordinated.
Definitely
so I think Mini-Me could get up in close and start biting at his ankles, maybe bring him down, and then eat him alive. Yeah, it's kind of fucked up. But
Jawa versus Shredder. I like this fight, but it's the same thing as Anakin versus Tusken Raider. Shredder is literally killing every Jawa on the planet.
Really?
I think so, yeah.
I think
he's a metal ninja.
I know, but he's not that impressive.
He's a Rokusaki. He's the leader of the Foot Clan, Matthew.
Yeah, and he loses to a bunch of 4 turtles.
4 trained ninja turtles. The Jawas don't have any ninja skills. They're tiny. This is just one Jawa. This is just one Jawa. That's true.
Oh, that's one singular?
It's one Jawa.
Shredder moves on. I didn't know it was one singular.
But
I thought it was a pack.
And I'm saying I think he could take on a bunch of Jawas. Gordon Bombay versus Hot Pockets. Gordon Bombay, unlike fucking Esteban. I mean, that guy on the way to practice, he's munching.
He probably only eats Hot Pockets, being a single guy.
Yeah.
In his 40s or 50s or 60s. We don't really know, but he definitely eats a lot of Hot Pockets.
Stewie Griffin versus Seth. Stewie, I think.
Yeah, Seth would probably think, oh, look at this cute baby, and then Stewie would, like, mutilate
It's
him.
2 guys with bad attitudes, but Stewie is so dark that guys in his category rarely meet him at his level.
Yeah.
So it's still Stewie.
Yes.
Because, like, Stewie would
Nobody's as dark
people.
as Stewie.
Exactly.
Yeah. And, like, people will also underestimate him for being a baby. They don't assume a baby's going to be that dark.
However, I will say, and Stewie has already moved on, but in that situation, the second that Seth sees this baby's a little shit, he is one character that would have no qualms trying to punt him across the room.
Yeah, but I don't think Stewie would be. I think
no,
it
certainly it doesn't
Stewie
matter.
Would pull out a freeze ray, freeze him, and he'd be like, "What the fuck?"
Whatever.
And then he'd like.
But I am
swing
saying
around
that
by his dick and throw him
Seth would have an easier time morally beating up a baby than like Paul Blart, for example. Which brings us to Paul Blart versus Antonio Brown.
Paul Blart versus Antonio Brown. I'm gonna go Paul Blart. I feel like you're not necessarily up to date on your Antonio Brown facts either.
Yeah.
But he's off the deep end, like
big time.
Off the deep end as any human could be. Because he has CTE. It's not his fault, I would guess.
Right.
He's just mentally insane. And Paul Blart would just be way more resilient. Like the second Antonio Brown wasn't dominating, he would become frustrated and be like, fuck this dude.
And
like,
it takes
I'm
a lot
outta
to put.
here.
It takes a lot to put Blart down.
Yeah, Blart doesn't give up. Antonio Brown is the definition of a quitter. He literally just walked off the field in the middle of a game.
All right, let me see if I can get this off.
Come on, Andy. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
A lot of fun ones.
So we're coming over here to Tony Stark versus Flubber. Flubber put up a really good fight against Steve-O, but Tony Stark is just too smart.
I think so.
Tony Stark would he would instantly be able to diagnose Flubber to a molecular level and figure out exactly how to combat it.
Yep.
Tony Stark moves on.
That's a good fight. That's a good fight for Flubber.
Yeah, I disagree.
Like a good component.
Because I think
opponent.
it's Flubber's like biggest weakness would be like either Tony Stark or Bill Nye.
Well, Flubber was created because Flubber was created from science.
Yes. But that's what I mean. People who are high science brains would know how to figure it out, whereas who aren't would be so dumbfounded by like Steve-O and try to like eat it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I think most people would try to eat Flubber, myself included. What I was saying though is that it's a good opponent. It's a good person to go against Flubber. Not that Flubber would be like great in that fight. Matilda versus Judge Judy. Matilda. I'll tell you why. Her main antagonist in the Matilda books is that Mrs. Trenchbull or whatever,
who's very Judge Judy,
Judy-esque.
And it's the stubbornness that hurts them in this case that helped her against Kim Possible.
Yeah,
because she would be so stubborn and not be able to crack Matilda.
Yep.
And Matilda would just absolutely drive her insane to the point of just pure insanity.
How ironic! How ironic that her strength has become her weakness.
Yep. Hey, that's Tournament of Champions.
Matilda versus Tony Stark. God, I'm so excited for a lot of these. What's next?
Bill Nye versus Dennis Rodman.
I don't think that Dennis Rodman gives a shit about science.
No, he's beating the fuck out of Bill Nye.
And he's going to snap Bill Nye like a fucking Q-tip.
Glad we're on the same.
A Q-tip,
I was worried that you were going to try to come up with
it's Dennis Rodman.
Pro Bill Nye bullshit in that fight.
No, Bill Nye is a human Q-tip, and he's getting tossed in the trash.
This is a fight.
This is a battle. This is a battle.
Action Bronson versus Miss Piggy.
I don't know, dude. I think that Action Bronson would have so much respect for Miss Piggy, honestly. I think he would love Miss Piggy.
And Miss Piggy would show no respect for Action Bronson.
That's true. She respects no one. This is such a good battle.
A current Action Bronson, I think, could beat the shit out of Miss Piggy.
He's the guy's so big now. Yeah, he's so strong.
I got to take Action Bronson. Because I think Miss Piggy's lack of respect would end up hurting her. Whereas, like, Action Bronson would be like, I fuck with Miss Piggy. I know what she's capable of. I'm not going to undersell this. And Miss Piggy would be like, swinging. And Action Bronson would finally be like, I have to take you out.
Here's the thing. Miss Piggy, she's all emotion. Action Bronson's just, he's such a present dude. Mm-hmm. He's just here. He's just taking things as they come. So I think you're right.
We're going to have to go.
It's going Action Bronson, yeah.
Which leads to another marquee matchup in the next round.
Darth Vader versus Gritty.
I mean, I think Darth Vader would be very intrigued by Gritty.
Yeah.
But ultimately, again, the Force, lightsabers, Gritty just dies in a heartbeat.
I love thinking about those two meeting each other, though.
Darth Vader and Gritty. He would be...
Especially because Gritty is kind of similar to Ed. A little different, but similar in the way that Gritty would also show no fear in the face of Darth Vader.
No.
Because Gritty knows.
But again, that would drive Darth Vader nuts. Like, that would force him into instantly just exploding Gritty. And Gritty would explode.
Oh, we messed up again. I messed up again right there.
No, you didn't.
Oh, because, I did. See, for like the next one?
No.
Oh, never mind. My bad. Jesus Christ. Okay.
Steve Harrington versus Pablo Escobar.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to say Pablo Escobar, but let me give Steve Harrington a fighting chance before we just assume. He literally fights murderous aliens and continues to survive and win.
Mm-hmm.
I think that with enough hype, he would not back down from Pablo Escobar. But I mean, he's Pablo Escobar.
Here's what I think. Steve Harrington is the absolute, I'm trying to think of the right word. I don't want to say stereotypical, but it kind of like he he is what every 80s movie like teenage hero is, right? And in those movies, they always beat the powerful gangsters. Group of kids coming together, they always take these guys out. Now, Pablo Escobar is at the top of his game.
Nobody's ever beaten Pablo
But
Escobar.
I think the very nature of Steve Harrington dictates that he does beat a guy like Pablo Escobar at every turn. On top of his alien training.
But here's the thing, and you know this about movies like that, is ultimately what happens is Steve Harrington comes within inches of murdering Pablo Escobar, and then the police show up instead, and he like turns him in. You know what I mean? Like Steve Harrington doesn't have not even outside help, but Steve Harrington still wants to bring good to the world, not just defeat Pablo Escobar. And Pablo Escobar doesn't give a shit about good. Like Steve Harrington doesn't have what it takes to when he's got that knife to Pablo Escobar's throat to actually slit it.
I think he does. I disagree. I think he does, especially through all the violence he's seen through the murdering stuff, and then of course knowing what humanity is capable of in the way that there are certain humans in the Stranger Things world that have perpetuated this alien problem and like the Demogorgon problem, the problem of the Upside Down and Vecna. I think that Steve Harrington does have the juice to kill a bad human if the human is really bad, and Pablo Escobar is bad.
I don't think he has the juice to do it. And the reason I say it is because you look at his like character arc, like his origin story, everybody thought he was this douchebag and now he's this great guy, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's hurt him ultimately, but he's still not willing to not look out for those people. And I don't think Steve Harrington would be okay with the murder of a human. I understand what you're saying, but if that's the case, we've still never seen Steve Harrington murder a human.
I don't know if that's true.
No, it is true. We've never seen him kill a human.
Well, a lot of Russians with machine guns get fucking nailed down, I feel like.
Yeah, but most of that isn't by them. I mean, every once in a while, it's Hopper, I think, probably shoots back. But I think it's mostly like the Demogorgons that end up killing those people.
Right.
And them just running away. Again, not protecting them, but ultimately knowing that they need to find the greater good, but without causing too much
needless bloodshed.
Yes.
Seemingly needless. Okay, because of your character arc argument, I can see...
I mean, we're talking about El Chapo.
I can see your point.
We're talking about one of the meanest of the mean.
Sure. Then I will concede and go with Steve Harrington as well.
You mean Pablo Escobar?
Oh, yeah, Pablo Escobar. Correct. What a fun one
I love that matchup,
okay.
too. So now we're going to go to Beetlejuice versus Luke Skywalker. I get it, but don't even start with me. I understand. I do agree
he can't die. He can't be choked to death by the Force?
Why not?
Because he doesn't breathe oxygen.
You don't think he could be dismembered? I guess he takes his own head off at one point.
If anybody's going to beat Luke Skywalker, I think it might be Beetlejuice.
But I think he's still susceptible to the Force.
Sure, he could still be like thrown around, but the shape-shifting is going to make that a lot more difficult.
Yeah, but I think once you got
Luke Skywalker,
I know,
and Beetlejuice's game is distraction, always. And Beetlejuice, like, even if Luke cut him up and he's throwing around Beetlejuice's torso, not exactly Beetlejuice. He's got his arms all over Luke Skywalker.
No, because I think that you could pin... I think that you could pin Beetlejuice down using the Force and hold him there, and then everybody can die.
Not Beetlejuice.
Yeah. Also, I think you could
He's already
torture
dead.
him,
That's the whole point of Beetlejuice.
but you could send him back into his thing. That was the whole argument. I can't believe Beetlejuice is who won this fight now that I think back into how
Against
we got
Mojo
here.
Jojo?
Yeah. I don't know, and I wish I knew more about, I know Beetlejuice, but I wish, we know so much about Luke Skywalker because there's so much origin and backstory, and there's so many movies. Beetlejuice, all we know is that he's this thing that, whatever.
But what we know is that he's this thing that is seemingly.
But do we
no
really?
To his power.
I know, but do we
know
really know that he physically cannot die? Do we actually know that?
Yeah.
Says who?
says the movie. I mean,
is that
and
true?
Logic,
Though?
like
No, not logic. Because you can kill a zombie.
But he's not a zombie.
I know, but you're saying, but that's
like
proof
a
that you
ghost or
can
whatever.
kill something that's already dead.
Okay, sure, but Beetlejuice is different. Is a different
And
thing.
I feel like if anything, that's something that you would encounter in the Star Wars universe. Is like killing something that's unkillable.
Yeah, I guess.
And who's going to do that if anybody can do that?
Not like a thing that's already dead. And I get your point about zombies, but zombies are like living dead, right?
I know, but I'm not saying he's not dead. But that's my example of there's proof that you can kill things that are already dead.
Sure, but it's a different kind of dead. You got to admit that.
Yeah. But how does Beetlejuice kill Luke Skywalker?
I mean, okay, so follow me down this path. Let's see if I got this. We do know for one thing that it does take physical effort to use the Force. And Luke being, like the strongest Jedi ever, it's obviously going to take a lot to tire him out using that, but we do know that that's one rule that applies to the Force. Beetlejuice's powers seemingly have no limit. They have no wear on him physically. And putting in that he can't die, that he can shapeshift so much, that damage to his body doesn't really affect him in a way that's going to keep him down for very long. If this fight goes for an extended period of time, Luke is going to be the one who has to physically tap out first.
But that doesn't explain how. I understand. I just think that it's because we don't know enough about. We don't have enough origin on Beetlejuice.
I guess so, but I
because
I still
how
feel
is
like
okay
we
then
have
how is
enough
Beetlejuice
info.
how is Beetlejuice going to kill Luke Skywalker?
I mean, eventually wearing him down and stuff.
I think Luke
but
Skywalker's
after the wearing down any number
we're
of
talking about
things,
the greatest. But
strangle
we're talking
him,
about the
turn
greatest
into a
Jedi
whatever.
of all time.
Yeah.
If he realizes like, okay, I'm not just going to be able to kill him right away. He's not just going to continuously use energy. Like even if he needs to, at times use the Force to combat what Beetlejuice is doing, he's not going to go all at once. Like he's going to. And if anybody's going to find that, if any Jedi is going to be able to find that last ounce of,
sure,
it's going to be Luke Skywalker.
I will concede that Beetlejuice can be outsmarted.
Yes.
And especially in a long fight where Luke, even though if he is getting tired, is going to take that time to learn Beetlejuice's weaknesses.
Exactly. Okay. And again, I understand your statement about focus too, but again, Luke Skywalker, he's Luke Skywalker. Focus is not his issue. Mm-hmm. He knows exactly where his brain needs to be at all times, regardless of what shenanigans Beetlejuice is figuring out or playing into. Again, I actually don't like this fight one way or the other right now because I think we need to know more about how Beetlejuice can actually be killed, but I'm just not convinced.
The only way that he gets killed,
by sending
quote
him
unquote,
back
in the movies is exorcism, which they don't even have Christianity in Star Wars. So how's Luke Skywalker going to do that?
And I just don't believe though that Beetlejuice would be able to best Luke Skywalker. I think Luke Skywalker would best Beetlejuice, but can he actually kill him? And what is his methodology of then figuring out how to send him back if he can't kill him?
That's a good question. I mean, it's possible if this fight goes to this, if it goes this far, he could maybe, because I don't know if Beetlejuice even like if you cut up Beetlejuice and then Luke scattered his body parts throughout the galaxy, I don't know. Well, I do think Beetlejuice would need to get them back together and that.
Well, because yes, we do see Beetlejuice like decapitate himself at one point, but that is part of his what's the word? It starts with a C. He can contortion. Like that is part of his ability to like manipulate his own body.
Yeah.
Whereas if he was like cut up as if he was being killed, I don't think it's the same as him because when he takes off his own head, yes, he's taking off his own head, but really he's not. It's really a trick. It's
Sure.
it's a trick.
Sure.
It's not an illusion, but it's him, manipulating himself. Whereas him being deheaded, I think, is different than him making it look like he's taking off his own head.
I hear you. I don't think that's necessarily the case. However, at the end of Beetlejuice, we do see his head get shrunk, and he doesn't like regrow another head. Like obviously that's his only head. It seems apparent that that's his only head. So I think the chopping him up and scattering his body parts, again, Luke Skywalker being able to somehow outsmart Beetlejuice seems to be the most likely option. I am happy that I don't think the Force would be as much of a tool for him in this case as it always is when we talk about it. But at the end of the day, Luke still gets a W on this one.
Yep.
So I'll move him.
Advance, Luke.
Hagrid versus Mini-Me.
It's Hagrid.
No. It's Mini-Me. Mini-Me is going to climb Hagrid like a spider monkey and strangle him like it's fucking Bella, fucking Luca in the Godfather movie.
No.
Yeah.
Because what do we know about Hagrid? He loves to tame wild creatures that can't be tamed in this world. And they're creatures way wilder than Mini-Me. So he does that. And also, again, I explained the theory last time of, is Hagrid potentially the most powerful wizard of all time? And he does at least
Hagrid.
still. Yeah, Hagrid.
I'm moving
thank
Hagrid.
you.
You're so right. He would be like Mini-Me, Mini-Me, Mini-Me.
Yeah.
Bop, that like fucking the
you just
clicker
got shit
from
on.
Jurassic World.
Yeah.
Where Chris Pratt does the blue. That's what you do for. God damn it.
Shredder versus Gordon Bombay. I just do it. I don't. I think that you give Shredder way too much power.
You don't
he loses to
How
four
do you
turtles
not understand
because he
that
loses
he's a
ultimately.
ninja.
So
if he other trained
because,
ninjas,
yeah, but if
four
he
trained
yeah,
ninjas.
But
and also there's an emotional confusion with the turtles that he
also,
doesn't have against any other opponent.
Also, he has to use the entire Foot Clan to even try to stop them, and this is just 1v1, baby. But I get it. I understand it. Stewie Griffin versus Paul Blart. It's Stewie.
I know. Has Paul Blart finally met his match?
Because Paul Blart is way too naive to think that Stewie... Like, when you talked about Seth being able to punch a baby, Paul Blart could never.
No, because here's the thing is Paul Blart's going to see Stewie. Oh, my God, a lost kid. This is a drill as a mall cop that I know 100 times. Hey, little buddy, where's your parents?
Stewie
bam, bam.
Stewie would fucking hate Paul Blart. Stewie would want to torture Paul Blart.
100%.
He would hate him.
Dead before he hits the ground.
Yeah, let's advance Stewie.
Hold the board for me.
Hold the board.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Tony Stark versus Matilda. I'm still on the Tony Stark train. I know Matilda does have the pop, but again, Tony Stark beats people on a consistent basis that have way more powers than Matilda does. And again, Tony Stark does get softer in his older years, but Tony Stark, more than anybody, going back to the Steve Harrington-Pablo Escobar fight, knows what has to be done to save the universe at times or to save himself and the people around him.
Yeah.
And in this case, it would be to kill Matilda, and he would be okay with doing that.
I do think this would be a situation where Tony Stark would be like, nice job, kid. Like, you did pretty good, but she's not gonna beat him.
Yes. Especially like a younger version, like an older, younger human version of Tony Stark.
Matilda kind of reminds me of Spider-Man, as in like she has the potential to be the most powerful, but she's just young.
But
she's just young.
But if he might do that. But if she was actually coming at Tony Stark rather than like working for him, that would be the most likely outcome. Is Matilda becomes an Avenger.
Yeah. And Matilda will return in Endgame.
Yeah. Dennis Rodman versus Action Bronson.
This one's tough. I don't know who to go with right away.
This is a way better fight than it should have been.
Yeah.
But again, Dennis Rodman, you have to consider the fact that he was a professional athlete.
Physical.
Yeah.
And I think in this case, because Action Bronson, also very strong, also very physical, suplexing guys at his shows before he was even in the physical condition he is now. But Dennis Rodman's size is something that in this case.
But Action Bronson's big too. I'm pretty sure. I think he's
not
tall.
I don't think he's that
NBA
tall, and he's definitely not Rodman.
And
tall.
I just think Dennis Rodman being who he is again has that extra, being a step on your throat style professional athlete.
Yeah,
he's gonna find a way to beat Action Bronson.
I think so too.
If you're okay with it.
Let's move him.
He's going to move on. And we have our Elite 8.
Okay. I'm just going to name everybody in this, and then
Yeah.
we'll start. Okay, so the Elite 8 is Stewie Griffin, Shredder, Hagrid, Luke Skywalker, Tony Stark, Dennis Rodman, Darth Vader, and Pablo Escobar.
There's a lot of firepower.
I honestly did not. I don't know if I would have guessed this Elite 8.
There's
like,
a lot of firepower. I think we did a really. I think we kept emotions out of it. I would think this is the best Elite 8 we could have seen.
We definitely, yeah. Well, I don't think we missed on any of the takes.
No.
Hey, Steve Harrington versus Capri Sun was close, but that's. But
again, I mean, Pablo Escobar is still.
Yeah.
Pablo Escobar versus Capri Sun. No,
that'd be funny. That'd be so funny to watch, though. Okay, so
you want to start at the top?
We'll start with Stewie Griffin versus Shredder.
So I think, all bias aside from me, I think this is Shredder's first true test.
Yeah.
I feel like you're going to have a hard time believing that Stewie Griffin could beat Shredder.
Not that hard of a time for a couple reasons. One, to your point, we have seen Shredder. When Shredder is facing an opponent that he sees as beneath him, he gets flustered, and ultimately that's what makes him fail. And Stewie is like, he can physically fight. Like he does, know some karate shit or something.
I even think though that still Stewie's fighting tactics rarely come to hand-to-hand combat.
More than you'd think though. Like I'm remembering Family Guy,
does.
like he beats up a lot of people.
But like a lot of times, I mean, he's smart. Like that's what a lot of times, kind of helps him get to where he needs to be. And I'm not saying Shredder's not smart,
but he's
I
not.
don't
he's
think
not
he's
like that.
a genius. And Stewie,
no,
Stewie. Back to your point over here, Stewie would not be afraid at all of Shredder.
Yeah.
Shredder would be Shredder would try to talk wise to Stewie, and Stewie would be like, "Shut up, old man!" Laser beam to the chest.
Whatever the case being, I think Stewie does take.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should we go down?
Do you want to do? Yeah, let's go down. Hagrid versus Luke Skywalker. A space wizard versus a regular wizard.
Let me ask you a question. Okay. And you need to be honest with me, completely unbiased from the game. Do you at all have any ounce of you that believes in my potential theory that Hagrid could be the most powerful wizard of all time?
I'm trying
because in the past you haven't. I don't want to hear you change your tone.
Okay, that's what I was trying to remember my points before. And I don't. What were you? I don't know. I don't remember. Because I don't remember what our whole argument was in that case before. So I'm not. I don't know. I don't know. Even if he is. Here's what I do remember saying about Hagrid. He is because one of my things is like, even if he is the most powerful wizard around, he's still untrained. However, in the lore of Harry Potter, being an untrained wizard is not necessarily a bad thing.
It can sometimes be more dangerous.
Yes, because the magic is uncontrollable.
Yes.
If it gets to the point where Luke Skywalker has Hagrid pinned up, Hagrid's a big guy, pinning him up against the wall with the Force, take a lot of effort, and it's going to stab him or something. I think in that moment, Hagrid, thinking about all the people in his life,
would go like
something would burst out of him.
What's that? Would go like Gakugan. What's that? What's that?
Super Saiyan?
Yeah. What's that?
Dragon Ball Z?
Dragon Ball Z.
Yes.
He'd go Dragon Ball Z mode.
I do think there's a heavy potential that some kind of storm of mystical energy, the likes of which Luke Skywalker in all his galactic travels has never seen, would shoot out of Hagrid.
Yeah.
And maybe even send him to a completely different plane of existence.
Yeah. Or just
gone.
Dust him.
Just completely dust him.
Kind of like 11 does.
Yeah. Like the emotional.
Like he would start an upside down.
And that's the thing is, Yes, that's exactly the case. Because
I agree with you. I think Hagrid. I think
we're gonna get a lot of flack for this.
no, but I agree with you.
But
I think that's what would happen. Hagrid advances.
And if you look at it, the Jedi, they're all about controlling their emotions, and in this case, Hagrid, who we already know is one of the most emotional characters in Harry Potter, what the fuck, a property where emotionality can have unforeseen consequences.
It could benefit.
I'm moving Hagrid.
We're moving Hagrid on. The champion falls,
folks. That's right. He made it all the way to the Elite Eight.
What I will say, put him on the corner here.
Okay.
Actually, if you can move both of them.
Yeah, here. And what, to here?
Yeah, okay. Sure. Yeah. And, like, Hagrid is a scaredy cat when it comes to certain things, but he's never afraid to back down from a fight.
Sure.
Like,
and I don't think he's really a scaredy cat.
No,
he's just he's a softie, but I don't think scared.
There are some things he gets, like, afraid of, though. But when it comes to, like, going into battle, I mean, he'll lead the charge.
Yep.
Fucking
couldn't have said it better myself.
I love that. Let's go up top. Tony Stark to Dennis Rodman. Tony Stark.
I'm picking Tony Stark as well.
Yeah. I think physically Dennis Rodman would kind of press Tony Stark, but Tony Stark is such a condescending asshole that I don't even think it would phase him, and he would know exactly. Like, Tony Stark, again, with the Jarvis glasses on and probably the Iron Man hands, because he's never not going to have at least a watch that he can have one Iron Man hand on. That's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, and I think that Tony Stark, one of the things that the Jarvis glasses would show him is, like, places where Dennis Rodman's body is deteriorating because of the physical NBA play.
And he would kick the knees. Yeah, he would go for his weak points.
And we've seen Tony Stark go up against stronger, bigger opponents countless times. And he's got him.
Tony Stark's going to advance.
Tony Stark to the Final Four. That's a good place for Tony Stark to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pablo versus Darth Vader. I think Pablo would maybe be a little bit scared of Darth Vader. I think he'd be more scared than everybody else that Darth Vader has gone against.
No, I don't think Pablo Escobar gets scared, but I think that Pablo Escobar probably has a god complex. But it's not going to matter. Darth Vader wins this fight every time. I think Pablo Escobar is sitting there, like, saying, fucking finish me off, and Darth Vader's kind of toying with him. But Pablo Escobar is still not afraid, even in his dying breath, is not afraid of Darth Vader. He's finally met his match, is what happens. And he's going down. Darth Vader advances.
As we knew he would. He was the guy, in my mind, Darth Vader was the guy to beat coming into this.
Oh, most definitely. And we have our Final Four. Stewie Griffin, Tony Stark, Hagrid, and Darth Vader. Let's start up top with Stewie Griffin versus Tony Stark. I think that this is where Stewie Griffin finally meets his maker.
This is so
because
hard.
It's a great fight.
Yeah.
Because Stewie Griffin is a baby Tony Stark.
Yeah. But a more evil, a more aggressive one.
Yeah, but in the early days of Iron Man, that's how Tony Stark is. Right? He's very condescending. He doesn't care about anything or anybody besides himself and banging chicks and making money because he sells weapons.
I'm saying that as a detriment to Stewie Griffin because he is going to – because, like, if we look at everybody that Stewie's gone up against in this thing, I think the big pattern is that Stewie takes him down pretty easily, and also maybe they are more – not more emotional than him, but he's been able to use his aggressiveness to his advantage. Tony Stark being who he is, always, as you've said throughout this tournament, cocky in the face of anything. I think he is going to take down Stewie. And when Stewie's faced with finally an opponent that's going to be a match for him,
he's not going to be outstarted by.
He's
Stewie.
a baby.
He's not going to be outsmarted.
Thing.
Yeah. He's not going to be outsmarted. And the other thing about Tony Stark that we've talked about too is, you know, there's unfortunately for Stewie Griffin, it appears that there's no good to be seen in him. He doesn't really have a good side. I mean, he has some baby moments, but when it comes down to it, he is a little bit mini-me-esque evil, you know.
Yeah.
And when the second Tony Stark realizes that there is no good to be seen in him, he's going to know that he needs to be killed.
Yeah. No, Tony Stark for sure.
And so Tony Stark is going to make it to the final two. He's in the final. He's in the championship game.
Yeah.
Who will he face?
Okay. This one. This one is obviously like it's similar to the last battle that Hagrid faced, but it feels different.
It is because Luke Skywalker has that positive energy to him where he knows he has to defeat Hagrid, but he maybe doesn't want to. Whereas Darth Vader, I think, is a worse matchup for Hagrid because
the ruthlessness.
Yes, the ruthless. Hagrid, again, I understand what you're saying, but Luke Skywalker is going to have that look in his eyes of like, I don't want to do this, but it has to be done, which is where Hagrid has that moment of self-reflection where he builds up that energy, whereas Darth Vader never questions whether or not he's going to kill this guy.
Yes.
He just knows that I'm going to fuck this dude up.
The fight between Luke Skywalker and Hagrid would be longer, which is what gives Hagrid that chance to let his magic, or not even the chance, but what allows Hagrid's magic rather to expel from him in that chaotic way. You don't get any chances with Darth Vader.
Darth Vader's just
you don't get any chances. So I think it's Darth Vader moving on.
And poor Hagrid,
which is so weird.
Yeah.
But there's just no way. But there's just no way.
Different.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like Luke is fighting Darth Vader. It's Hagrid, because Hagrid could defeat Luke, but not Darth, even though some say that's...
By the
by
the transitive property, you'd
Luke
think.
should be able to. But they're just different. I mean, that's the advantage that Darth Vader has against somebody who doesn't live in the Star Wars world in that ruthless aspect. Whereas, in Star Wars, oftentimes good defeats evil because that's the way the Force works. Whereas when it comes to Hagrid's magic, there's not that balance and imbalance of good versus evil.
And those are the final two.
This is the final. Tony Stark versus Darth Vader. Do you want to list your...
Yeah, before we get into it, as is tradition, I would like to read off some of the rejected Who Would Win of the weeks from this year. Some of the ideas that we did not go with or that Matthew said no to. Okay, here we go.
Do you want me to one-word them, or are you just reading them off?
I'll read them off. Yeah, tell me who you think's got them.
Okay.
So first one, the Beatles versus the Teletubbies.
The Teletubbies.
Lou Ferrigno versus a maple tree.
A maple tree.
Attila the Hun versus every Chick-fil-A franchise owner.
Chick-fil-A franchise owners.
I disagree. I think Attila the Hun, he'd rip him to shreds. That's what he does. SpongeBob versus Saddam Hussein.
Saddam.
No, really? SpongeBob. How's he even gonna get his hands on SpongeBob? Shaggy the Rapper versus the Karate Kid.
The Karate Kid.
Yeah, I agree with that. Captain Sully versus Captain Phillips.
Captain Phillips.
Yeah, 100%.
Sully's an American hero, though.
Sully, sure. He's also, yeah. Anyways, Lucius Malfoy versus Chet Hanks.
Lucius Malfoy.
Yeah, 100%. I would love that. You know what? I might take Chet Hanks in that one, but I would just love to watch that fight and see Lucius Malfoy get so confused by this guy. Although I will say Chet Hanks, I don't think he's quite like Draco Malfoy, but they're definitely both products of like very affluent upbringings.
Yeah, but again,
so Lucius would see
and Lucius
like
Malfoy
it's nothing he
also
hasn't
has
seen
magic.
before.
Yeah, and Avada Kedavra is not
sure.
out of his.
Do we know that would work on Chet Hanks if he
would.
starts speaking as Rasta? Blat blat, Chet Hanks. And then cancer versus AIDS, which is not a fair fight. That's a tough one though. I
don't ever remember that one even coming up. I'd like to disavow that fight.
No, there's no winners in that one.
No.
And then of course Stiltsman versus everybody.
And everybody is the answer because you just kick out his stilts.
No, Stiltsman's the best. And those are all the rejected fights that we'll do for this one. Stiltsman, you know what? Stiltsman still deserves to be in some fight.
Maybe we'll get him.
I want to see him in the tournament. I want to see
we'll
Stiltsman show up in the tournaments next year.
But he's never going to be in the tournament because nobody would vote for him.
Yes, they will if they know what they're talking about.
Stiltsman versus an ant, and then it still might be tough.
Versus Flick from Bugs Life.
Yeah.
Put a little character in there. But again, Flick with his inventor background would
could make his own
stilts. would be able to take. Well, he'd need to. He's small, but he would be able to take apart Stiltsman.
All
Whatever. Right. Stiltsman all the way. Stiltsman stand.
So we're saying for certain that Tony Stark does not have his full Iron Man suit.
Does not have the full Iron Man suit. But Darth Vader is basically wearing an Iron Man suit.
So here's the thing
his
about
body
Tony
is
Stark versus a Jedi.
Yeah.
Compared to like other superheroes. I know we had the Spider-Man Luke Skywalker. That was how this whole debate started. The thing about Tony Stark versus a Jedi is you see scenarios where not the Force, but Tony Stark is in Force-like situations where he's
up against beings with telekinetic abilities.
And he is still able to mentally shoot off his Iron Man. So if he doesn't have his suit on, but he has a glove on, he can hit. When Darth Vader goes to Force choke him, he can get himself out of a Force choke. This is the first real fight versus a Jedi that we've seen somebody be able to get out of a Force choke to prolong the fight.
And I'd like to say the original Darth Vader matchup from earlier this year was Darth Vader versus Batman. And that's really the difference between Batman and Tony Stark is Tony Stark for sure has a Neuralink capability, and that's just not something, even with Batman's gadgets, he doesn't have. And when you also
consider, though, even when Batman has his fancy eyeballs on his mask, it's still not Jarvis. Like, Jarvis will give Tony Stark the ability to, again, find, like you talked about, find Darth Vader's weak points, which is obviously going to be his mask, and potentially expose them. Now, again, if Tony Stark slips up for a second, he dies. But true. Tony Stark also has a little bit of that Hagrid in him that we see when, he's faced sometimes with life or death situations. When he's put in those scenarios, he can kind of become even more superhuman than he already is through like emotion, right? And Darth Vader is somebody who we know can get overly emotional, which can lead to him being weakness. Tony Stark will not be afraid of Darth Vader. Darth Vader will be overly convinced that Tony Stark should be afraid of him. And it might do, again, this leads for an opportunity for Darth Vader to take his foot off the gas a little bit. And it could, like, if Darth Vader knew that this was a championship matchup, he wouldn't just want to win. He would want to embarrass Tony Stark. Whereas Tony Stark would not be afraid of him and would understand that he has to take every opportunity he can just to land body blows, right? Land body blows, do damage until you can land that kind of final punch. What do you think?
Well, some of that I don't think I could have said better myself. Another factor, Tony Stark, obviously, he's got something to fight for. Darth Vader doesn't have anything to fight for.
No, that's what
ever.
I mean when you talk about that kind of fight or flight.
What you said about Darth Vader's emotional state, I think, is perfect. That all of that combined with Tony Stark's technical knowledge gives him such a big edge in this fight. It gives him an edge that I would say is equivalent to the edge that the Force gives Darth Vader. So, and because of what we've already talked about, I think that Tony Stark is definitely going to take Darth Vader in this one.
I think so too, and I'm kind of having a hard time saying it. I was getting nervous that I was kind of steering myself the wrong way, but I really think that.
And like his genius level intellect also helps him think on the fly very, very quickly.
Yes. And again, like once Darth Vader comes in, choke, Tony hits him with that first kabat, and it knocks off. Then he gets emotional, and he probably goes straight for the lightsaber and is like, I'm going to go fuck this guy up. And I think that it becomes a very, very big disadvantage. Now, there is one theory before we crown Tony that I do want to ask you. Do you think that Darth Vader using the Force would be able to remove the Iron Man hand from Tony Stark?
For sure. But I don't.
Maybe he doesn't
Tony
think like
Tony
that.
Stark would still be able to use it before Vader would even do that.
Yes, once he gets frustrated, I think once he tries to choke, he gets hit. he then becomes frustrated with the fact that, like, why is this mere human as he sees it? Like, somebody who doesn't have the force, why is this guy able to beat me? Like, I'm just going all out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that his emotions get the best of him, and he completely loses sight of, you know, how to kind of expose Tony Stark at his weakest, whereas Tony's whole game plan here is to expose Darth Vader as his weakest.
Sure.
I think it's a Tony Stark win.
It definitely is a
I
Tony
think
Stark
Tony
win.
Stark is our 2022 Tournament of Champions winner.
He's the champion. He's the champion.
He is the
He's
champion.
The 2022 champion. I can't believe that a Jedi did not win this 2 years
Yeah,
ago.
two Jedis in this fight too. Come on, Andy, you can do it. Crown him.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Wow. Let me just tell you, a great Tournament of Champions.
It really was.
Like, great insight all over the board.
There wasn't as many inanimate objects as we did last year. Remember last year the Bop It had a real run.
Yeah, I mean, I think
was
there was just
more
a lot
food
of
ones for
heavy
sure.
hitters. I think
There
there was
were
a lot of heavy
hitters, that's for
heavy
sure.
hitters. Like, you know, if the Hot Pocket had a more favorable matchup, like if the Hot Pocket could have found Paul Blart maybe
Oh
in
my
a round,
God, it would have wrecked him.
it would have wrecked him.
That's so funny.
Like, there's a lot of
Because it wouldn't be the
Capri
first
Sun.
time. Wouldn't be the first time Paul
I
Blart.
think even Steve Harrington might fall to a Hot Pocket.
I could see an argument for that. Tough to say.
Now, Little Caesar versus a Hot Pocket would be fight of the century. I mean, listen, this was a great board overall.
Yeah.
You don't really get a better board than this.
No, it was great. I just feel bad that it looks possibly even shittier than it did last year.
I might have to disagree.
But not bad.
Listen, I mean, the production value on this show has gotten much higher since its start in a lot of areas. We got to stay true to ourselves in some way, shape, or form.
So we're going to crown Tony Stark over Darth Vader, but but that doesn't matter because whichever one of them wins the Instagram poll is the one that's going to be back in the tournament next year.
I think if people really listen to this, they'll understand
Sure.
where we're coming from.
But
But our listeners sometimes are stupid. As we see
But
from
we're gonna
Beetlejuice
see.
even being in this fight.
well, there's nothing left to say.
Andy,
That's a tournament.
it's been a hell of a year.
It really has.
Another one in the books.
Cool end of year tradition.
I mean, it's a great
it's
end
a
of
nice
year
way to
tradition.
wrap things up.
It's a nice thing to wrap things up.
What do you think of the new chairs?
I got to say two things, and then we got to fly because I have to pee
okay.
so badly. I mean,
wow.
time-wise, we actually did really well, but
Yeah.
we do have to go. But I have to pee, like, more than anybody's have to pee in their life.
Yeah.
I drank a tremendous amount of water today. The new chairs are fantastic. I owe that all to you. Thank you so
New year,
much
new chairs.
for
It's my last minute
having
Christmas
the
gift
sense
to
of
you.
mind to do that. Last thing, we'll talk about your Christmas gift more next episode.
Yeah, I think next week is when Grace is going to come on.
I mean,
We're
Grace
gonna have to
Green
find
is going to
time.
be unbelievable guest.
Yeah.
Very excited for that, but we're still going to have to find time to talk about
Yeah.
that. Gigi
might
is going to
have
have
to-
to sit on the back burner
Maybe
for a
we'll
little
have
bit.
to do like a special thing. I don't know. We'll have to
Yeah,
work
we'll
it
have to
out,
figure
'cause
it
that's
out.
gonna be
We'll have to workshop some things.
Yeah.
Because we do have to talk about it, and hopefully by then I've made more progress on it than I have now. I don't know.
I did it. Yeah, I did. Look, I didn't. I thought you were either gonna get way further than you are, or you were gonna be in the position that you kind of are in now. We'll see what happens.
I actually would have talked to a few people about it.
Yeah.
I don't let anybody else like really examine it because
Yeah.
I don't want that. But I kind of was giving somebody the rundown, and they were like, it sounds like you might be doing this for like a really long time. And I was like, yeah, I think I am. I think we'll get into it. Andy,
Yeah.
first of all, congratulations to Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. But I do also want to say thanks to Kyle before
Shout
we
out
go.
to Kyle.
Sitting in for Emily today. Do you have
Yeah.
anything you want to like plug or anything, Kyle? All right.
Yeah.
But you know
He said,
Kyle.
"Fuck y'all."
Go watch Kyle's
he's been
episode
on.
that he was
It was a
on
great
with Brian
episode.
Blotto. It was one of my favorite
Yeah.
ones. Shit was crazy.
Happy New Year.
Happy
Another
New Year.
one in the books.
Yeah.
We'll see you again in 2023.
You got it.
Love you, Andy.
Love you too. Thanks, folks. Let's get out of here.